The alignment principle is what comes into play now. These are roughly center aligned, meaning that if I drew a line down the center, it'd be about equally weighted on either side visually. But we're going to work at centering this information pretty much exactly on this card. Not because it needs to be, but because it's something I want you to know how to do. Photoshop has got some nifty tools for this. The first one I'm going to introduce you to is the rulers. You may already have these up, but if you don't, like I do not, go to the View menu and choose Rulers. Command R is the function or the command that will pull those right up. Yours are probably set to inches automatically. Mine is a slightly different measurement. The measurement that you're looking at is really easy to change. All you've got to do is right click or control click on the ruler and then it gives you a bunch of different options. What I want you to choose is percent, because instead of saying, well, we could look at this at inches, okay, my card is actually 3.5 by 2 inches tall. I think I told you a wrong measurement earlier. And how do I get that middle, know exactly what half of that is, and then I'd have to count out from blah, 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 blah. Well, I have a secret for you. I am a designer and an artist, and even simple math sometimes escapes me. And any time I can use a visual solution to get around actually having to crunch some numbers, I do it. So what I do is I right click on this or the ruler and set it to percent. The measurements of your page here have what's called a 0 point, and that is the top left corner. That's automatically the 0 point in Photoshop. By 0 point, I mean if you look for 0 on both of these rulers, that's where they both line up, is up in that top left corner. That's 0%. So on the other side is 100%, which means exactly in the middle is going to be 50%. The way to pull out a line so we can have a visual guide for where the middle is to click on this left ruler and drag out this line and line it up with 50. And then let go. This should create a bright colored line on your page. This is called a guideline, and it won't be printed. If I hit Command P right now to print this off on my little inkjet printer that's running out of ink, it would not print this line. This is just a guideline for you to use to line things up. Let's put one at 50% running the other way as well. So I'm grabbing it from, click and grabbing from the top one, pulling it down to 50. So I want you to also turn on a feature that can be either handy or annoying depending on what you're doing. Go to View and down to the Snap feature and turn it on. For now this will just snap generically, but you can also set it to snap specifically to guides or other items, but we'll just set the generic one for now. Command Shift colon is the, or Command Shift semicolon is the command for that. Let's grab a few of our type layers. So I'm going to get my Move tool and hold down the Command key and click once on the big word. You'll notice that sent me to that layer over here. This is what I'm going to do for this whole time, is I'm going to hold Command and either Shift click to grab more than one layer, or just Command click and drag to get a bunch of layers. Now if you start moving this first bunch of layers around, what you'll notice is it'll kind of pop to where it needs to go. That's what that snap feature does. But we will continue on from here and not actually worry about these guidelines for now. So let's hide them. Go to View and Show and Guides, or Command semicolon. They're still there, they're just hidden. Here's something you really should do with any type, anytime that you're working with type or really objects and trying to get a perfect alignment going on. Right now they're kind of eyeballed center, but I'm going to move these kind of really off center just a little bit so you can see how these next tools work. Here is how you can center a whole bunch of items with the same alignment. First you need to select all the layers that you want to affect. So here in my layers I'm clicking on the top one, holding Shift and clicking on the bottom type layer. Next I go to my Type tool, or hit T, and choose an alignment option from either this top toolbar or from my paragraph panel, which gives me a couple other options. But we'll just work with these ones for now. So hit center because that's what we want to do. Yeah, I know. It went way off the page, right? Well, the next thing to do is grab your move tool. And now that you have multiple layers selected over here, you actually have your move align tools options available. We're doing center alignment, so you look for the one that represents what you want to do. So this one's got two objects centered over a center line. I'm going to click that one. So now those are centered to themselves. This is where I could turn on those guides again by going to View, Show, Guides, and drag everything over so that it would kind of pop and snap to being right in the middle. So what this should do is look at all of these things I have selected as kind of one big item and center it both left, right, top, and bottom. It should, it probably did. I'm going to show you how to double check for that. Grab your rectangular marquee tool, set the feather to 0, then click out here in this gray area since we're going to measure from the left edge to the word. Click and drag, and only drag that line till it touches the edge of the C. Now if you move your cursor inside of that area, click and drag it over, you can do kind of a comparison to see if it's exactly the same width on either side, and actually it's not. It is just a tiny bit off. So let's deselect. We still have all of our type over here ready to move, so I'm going to move it by holding down Command and pushing my right arrow just a couple of times. That moves it actually a pixel over at a time. Now I'm going to grab my marquee tool again and do the same thing and see if we're any closer. Yep, that is pretty good, and we can do the same for the top and bottom. And they're a tiny bit off. I'm not going to worry too much about it because this isn't going to be our final product. What I wanted to do was give you a tool that can help you quickly decide if something is centered. And this might seem like a really obvious thing, but I had a coworker at one point and he spent probably 2 days mathematically crunching out the difference in distances for about 20 different objects and pulling out a gazillion little rules. And his page was a mess. He wasted a whole bunch of time, and this is just one way we can get away from a mess like that. Now if you did what I just did and pulled out some extra guides, I'm going to show you how to get rid of those. Grab your move tool, hover over one of them, and then just click and drag it over to the ruler that it originally came from. And I'm actually going to do that with these ones and then show you the other option to get rid of guides so that they're just gone. Go to View and choose Clear Guides.